All right, I'm just gonna, there you go. You're live on YouTube, guys. Say hey. Yeah, refresh your screen and it'll show up. And for those, I guess, if anyone joins in, we are doing a live painting with a few friends today. All right, so if you go on my YouTube channel, you can just find a live video that would be, I guess, at the very top saying that I'm live, or you should probably have gotten a notification saying I'm live if you've subscribed. How you would normally find the Sunday live. Do you see it? Found it? Perfect. There we go. Okay, awesome. So we're all here, and maybe just mute me, guys. So we're having a live session here with a couple of patron members, and we're doing a nice, sorry, I can hear myself. So maybe just everyone just mute me, and then if you have questions, then you can unmute and ask me. Got it? We're good? From Zoom. All right, okay, so we are ready. So this is a special Christmas holiday session that we're doing. And let's just make sure that we have our items in order before I continue telling you what we're doing today. So we're gonna keep today super light and fun. And I am going to tell you what brushes we're going to be using today. So we're going to use, not this one, this is way too big. I had that one out because I was doing a painting earlier. But we're going to keep all these guys handy today, including the number 4. So the mop brush in the 1, the Princeton Neptune in the 8. I have this 10 brush that I had purchased, and you can see it's considerably longer than the other brushes, but I might use it, I might not use it, just because I like the tip. It's like super pointed. And then obviously I have the silver black velvet in the 8, and you know we always need the number 4 for tiny details. I have water ready, and for colors we're going to be using a combination of a few. I'm keeping this very light, airy, and Christmassy and holiday-like. So we are going to be using the Titan Red, Madder Lake Red. Sorry, no, this is the Carmen. Madder Lake and Titan Red. I have my Umber Green, yellowish green. And I believe this is the sepia. Sorry, raw sienna, not sepia. And I have the cobalt blue as well. So I might use a little bit of this for some berries. And let's throw in the azure. Sorry, that's the black. This is azure. So azure and the cobalt blue are going to be teamed together. because you guys know I like to kind of have two colors mixed in as opposed to just using the one constantly. All right, and then I have my Canson watercolor paper and we are ready to begin. So today we're gonna try and keep things very light and easy to do, like I mentioned previously. And we're gonna do a loose watercolor wreath. It's gonna be very leafy and will have dominantly berries on it. So not quite like the wreath that I've already posted, or not even like the peony wreath that we've done. So something a tad different. So let's begin. We will start off by adding the leaves first, and then we'll kind of go in and add the berries. So I'm gonna use my mop brush, and I have the shell palette as well to kind of mix colors in on the side. So we're gonna start off by mixing some of my favorite, the umber, because I want to start the light leaves first and then the bright leaves on top if we need to put them on top, okay? So that would be considered layering. So we're mixing some of the umber, and then we're gonna mix some of my favorite green. Oh, and for those who don't normally know what I'm using, this is the colors that I use. These are the St. Petersburg White Knights. So mixing some of this, because we're gonna need a lot of green because this is gonna be a leafy wreath. All right, so I'm mixing more of the umber because I want this to be like the muted green, and then we can go in with a darker green for after. So it looks like a dark green right here, but remember the consistency also matters. And right now the consistency is more water, less color. So I'd say maybe like a 70-30, no, maybe like a 60-40 ratio happening. All right, so we're gonna lay down our first set of leaves. So since we're doing a wreath, which is circular in nature, I'm just gonna move my camera down here. We're gonna start off by doing always in the shape of an arc. So we'll start off by doing a couple, like a stem to kind of help us in the direction of where this is gonna go. So we'll do one off to the side this way, and notice the consistency. You can kind of see the paper through. It's not very dark, it's fairly light. We're gonna just kind of go with the flow, add a stem, and then from the outside in, we're drawing a leaf or painting in a leaf. And you can have these done in varying shapes and sizes, or mainly sizes, because the shape is going to be the same. We're just kind of adding a stem and then pressing down and drawing into the line that we've painted on, right? And now I'm dipping the tip of my brush in water, and I'm going to create another one right here. And this is giving me a very light looking stem. And I'm just adding a couple of strokes to the stems that we've already done. And again, this kind of creates that whole white space, fake white space that we're creating in, but also giving it that loose look, right? So we've done some here, and we're gonna go around and create some as we kind of go around this area. So we'll do one in this area right here, just adding one at the very top. And you guys, I mean, if you watched other videos of mine, you know I like to do everything in threes. So we'll do 1, 2, and maybe a third one over here in this style. So here's one. I didn't mean for it to be just the one because there was going to be 2. But since my stroke was thicker, I got a leaf was thick enough that kind of took over both the stems that I had created. So you always want to push your color down to the bottom. And then now to get that loosey effect, you can actually take another brush, any of the brushes you have, and kind of just draw in, whoops, draw in or paint in the leaf by just drawing the color from the stem itself. So watch what I do here. Like I'm just creating another leaf that's attached, or it looks like it's attached to the one we've just laid down. And if the color spread isn't as prominent, or what's the word I'm looking for, strong enough, just kind of take the brush with color and kind of help it along, pushing the color down. And then you have that nice blend of color. You see the pattern happening right there, right? So that's nice. So we've got that happening here. Let's do one more over here, and then we'll move on to another set of leaves. So let's do one over here. And let's try and practice this whole idea of applying a couple of leaves and then going in with a brush that doesn't have color and adding in some additional leaves to it, okay? So now that I have this, I'm going in with this brush and with just water on it, I'm kind of extending a line and doing a leaf, but I'm making sure I'm touching this leaf and the stem itself, and the stem as well. And we're getting a leaf that has a very faint color. So it almost looks like a dreamy leaf, I guess, or something that's caught in the light. You can add additional stems and kind of add more leaves if you want in a smaller size. So I'm just kind of doing the leaves wherever I see fit. And like I mentioned previously, if they're too light for you, like I actually kind of like the lightness here, but if it's too light, you can always go in and add a couple of strokes of color in there. And because we have water down already, it'll kind of do its blending by itself. So you don't have to worry too much about that. Okay, so that's the effect. So notice how we started off super hard edged, and then as we did our third one, we've loosened up, right? And the whole idea is to draw a stem, put in maybe 2 or 3 leaves, and then take in a second brush and do the strokes with just water, and it draws the color in, and we have that nice effect. So that's what we want to do for majority of our painting in this session today. So just so that this one doesn't look too hard edged compared to the other two, I'm just going to add, I'm going to elongate this stem a little bit and add one more tiny leaf. Or maybe 2. And then going in with this, I'm just gonna try and get that effect that we got here. And that's perfect. In fact, can probably get one over here too. Let's try to not overdo it as well. So here we go. We've got our 3 loose leaf sprigs, I guess you can call them. I'm going to keep this on the side because we're going to use more of that color, the green. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to mix or paint in some leaves using the number 8 silver black velvet. So just use any other brush that you have in a different size variation. And for this, we're going to mix in some of the, yellowish green. So I'm mixing some of the yellowish green that I have right here. And I'm going to get in some of the green that I have, and I'm extending it to the side just so I don't, if I want to go back to this green or mix it in with some umber or some browns to get another variation, then I have that. I'm not remixing things all over again, kind of saving on the color. So there we go, we have this. And now we're going to go in and create some additional leaves. All right, so for these ones, we're going to do some leaves that kind of are more linear in nature. And by linear, I mean kind of like how the pines look. So since we're doing the piney look, we're going to go in with the number 4 first and just get in some of a brown. So now I have a raw sienna, right? And I'm literally just going to use this to draw in like the stem. So just adding in the stem right here, and I want it to be more watery so that when I go in with this brush to add in the leaves, it'll give me a nice blend of color. So see, just like that. Like as I'm laying down the color, it's kind of blending in with the brown. And you want to use just the tip of your brush to kind of create these little lines. They don't have to be perfect because we're doing a very loose style of painting. And you're just kind of going all the way in. And then if you feel like the brown is too saturated with the green at this point, just go back in with that brush and add a couple of dabs off your brown. And you get that nice loose effect. One more thing we can do at this point for these is going in with another brush that you have not used. I'm just going to use the 10 and I'm going to get some of the darker green. So my favorite green right here. And I'm getting the color directly from the little palette. And the reason for doing this is so that it's nice and dry and it's not wet like the color I've laid down. And I'm just going to add a couple of strokes in. And it's literally to like fluff it up. So you can have some directly in the center, some off to the side, and you're giving it some nice dimension. And you can decide how much you want. If you want to add more or less, it's entirely up to you. So that's the way we're going to do that leaf. Now we're moving on to another area to do the exact same thing we've just done. And just like these ones, you'll find as the more you do these, the more you will kind of loosen up and you'll find yourself getting a nicer blend or effect. So let's do one over here on this end. And I'll have it protruding a little bit off to the top as opposed to going in a perfect circle. And on top of that, I'll also make it look like it's a branch that's kind of come off to the side. And now going in with this and our light green, we're going to go in and create our little linear lines using just the tip of the brush. And look at that beautiful blend that we get in. So again, going in with the brown and adding it to the center so that it blends in with the green. And time is of the essence here because we want things to blend in and give us that nice loose effect. Now you might have a preference to do the lines from the stem outward or from out in. It's entirely up to you. There's no right or wrong way as long as you're getting that blend and as long as you're happy with it. I think that's what we had discussed today. And so now I'm going in with the number 10 and I'm going to get the color directly from the pan. And I want the consistency where this is a lot darker with less water. So more color, less water. And I'm just going to do the same kind of motion that we did down here on top of what we've laid down. And sporadically leaving a lot of white space. Because again, with the loose style of painting, having white space is everything. So just have fun and kind of stop when you feel like it needs to stop. So there we go. We've done our second. Now we're going to do our third. And by now you guys have probably got the method down packed. So we're doing a third one. Let's do it over here, but I don't want to take up this whole space. So I'm just going to do it right here. And that's enough, I think. There we go. Putting my brush off to the side. And using the number 8 for the green, I am creating some simple lines to create these little pines. All right, there we go. And then as soon as these are done, we're going in with the 10, getting some color directly from our little palette. And we are doing our second round of lines. And notice the blend that you get with the greens. Notice the blending of the green with the brown. And this is what loose watercolor is all about. And also the white space. Don't forget the white space. All right, so I'm really liking how this is turning out. This is looking very nice. We're going to introduce a third style of leaves happening here. For this, I will use my number 4 because, again, like I was saying, use a variation in brush size to get a variation of, I guess, leaf sizing. And I had some of my raw sienna on here, and I'm just going to mix it in with the light brown here to get like a, what is the color I'm getting? Like a medium green, I guess. Feel free to add some more of the light green if you feel like it's too close to the darker green we've been using. We just want a whole bunch of different greens happening, so that's a nice robust monochromatic look of green happening in the wreath. And so this time we're going to use the same technique we've done for these, where we do in a couple of leaves and then go in with a paintbrush that just has water on it to smoothen things out. So let's do that. So for these leaves, I think we'll do something that's very much like the thin, long leaves. Kind of, I'm thinking like the rosemary leaves almost. So the way we would do something like that is just having, let's do one over here. Or you could even do one off. Okay, I'm gonna do one here and then we'll go around and you guys can kind of decide where you want yours. But these are the kind of leaves we're doing, showing you right now. So we have one of these lines, doing one down, just pressing down and just joining to the edge. Same here, and then letting it trail off, right? What I should have done was, because I need the same size to get the water on, right? But it's okay. So I'm using my number 10 because it's got a nice tip. And I'm going to add some water. Make sure you don't have too much water because then it's going to pool like it just did here. And that happens, guys. It's okay. So I'm just drawing a couple of lines here, and it's just pulling the color from my stem into this area that I've laid down the water. So it's a nice, pretty, airy look to it. And at this point, if you feel like your green is too close to the other green and you want to make it darker, just go in with a brush that you haven't used yet, get in a darker color off the green or even the umber or even a blue. Let's use the azure and just add in some color on the stem. And watch that seep into your leaves, and it gives it a different look. Obviously blue mixed with green kind of gives you like a tealy look anyways, so let's do these fancy things all around because they're fun to do. I like them. All right, so let's do one over here on this end. I'm gonna have it over this set of leaves that we've done here. So I'm drawing in my stem. I'm adding in one leaf and another and another. And then I am going to go in with the number 8, just water on it, and I'm adding a stroke, and it's bleeding from here and giving me other leaves. So I've done about 3, I think. Now the consistency for this probably needs to be a little more darker. So what I'm doing is going in with my number 10 and getting some of the azure, and I'm going to add it right here in these areas and having it blend in. And there we go. So we have like this other variation who's got like a little bit of a teal look to it. Now we're going to continue with the same thing we've been doing. You can add in some of the green if it's a little too out there for you, but like I am doing that. Let's do one protruding on this side. So I'm gonna have it coming out, one leaf and another leaf. And then I'm using my number 8 to draw in a leaf. And I'm going to draw in another leaf here. So it looks like it's just either in the background or foreground or whatever you want to call it. And then going in with my number 10. And I'm adding in a dab of the color there. And if you want to help it, you can just start from the top of the leaf and just drag it down, and then just let it do its thing by drying up and kind of going in whatever direction it wants to go. Because it's all about where you've laid the water. So if you've laid the water in a certain area, the color will only flare where the water is. So you have control in that aspect. All right, so we've got that. So this is what it looks like so far. So it's coming along really well. This is with the blue. This is with a combination of blue and green. This is with just the green. So you can kind of decide how you want this to pan out for you. All right, so third time's a charm. So we're doing the same thing. This one we will do this way. And I'm going to do a couple of them coming out this way. One just kind of peeking out from there. One more this way. This one came out a little bit too thick. So I guess don't hold your brush sideways and then drag it. Always just from the tip and then down. So then using my number 8 with just water on it, I am going to add a couple of strokes trying to make leaves. And just kind of giving direction so as the color flows, it's drawing from the color that's already there. And then finally, like I mentioned previously, if you want to mix in some darker green or a different hue of the green, just kind of go in and add it in strips there. I'm just elongating this fat leaf that I accidentally drew on, but it doesn't kind of blend in with all the others. That's what an overworked leaf looks like, guys, if you haven't seen one. You're gonna try and ignore that. All right, so this is what it looks like so far. Let's see. So now we can go in with some berries. And for the berries, I am going to use the Titan Red and the Carmine. And we're going to have them on a branch. So for that, we're going to use the raw sienna. And let's see, what else? Oh yes, I did mention blues. So the cobalt blue and the azure, because we'll have a variation of the red and the blueberries. And then obviously we've got lots of green mixed up on the side, so we're gonna kind of use that as some additional foliage on the berries. All right, so I'm gonna use the number 4. No, I'm lying to you. We're gonna use the number 10 to do in, to do in the branch, and then we are going to use the number 4 because it'll give us more control over the sizing of the berries. So I'm gonna get some of the brown. In fact, you know what? Let's mix some of the brown onto the palette because I think we're gonna need a bunch. So just mixing it onto here. And now that I have that, we're gonna make sure we have this ready and we're gonna start. So I'm gonna have a branch coming in over here on this end. And again, the branch needs to be loose and light. So if you get uneven variations of it, it's totally okay. Just kind of go with the flow. So I've got branches looking like that. Now I'm going to go in with this and get in some of my Titan Red first. And I'm going to mix some of the red onto the palette just so I can get various variations in terms of water to color ratios off it. So there's one. I'm gonna get in some of the Carmine with it to create another one right here on this end. And notice I'm touching it so that the color mixes in with the Carmine that I have just laid on. I'm leaving some white space in, or at least I'm trying to. And we're gonna create these berries all around. Obviously the ones that are overlapping on the leaves probably need to be a lot darker in consistency. So you can go back in with a second layer and make that darker. And just kind of go around creating that. You can create some that aren't necessarily on a branch, but they're touching. Here's one more. And there we go. We got some berries happening right there. At this point, I'm going to use some of the Carmine to kind of highlight some areas in the berries to get some nice flow. And some nice light and dark happening too. So feel free to add them wherever you feel you need to. I'm just kind of going with what I feel needs to happen. And for those who have metallics, Jill, you can totally use your metallics. In fact, Jill, if you use the light pink shimmer for the berries and stuff, that would have been nice, I think. But maybe try that another time if you're scared to do that right now. Okay, let's not overdo the berries. I tend to overdo them sometimes. All right, so we've got one area. Let's move on to the next area. And if we need to do any more tweaking, we can always come back. I know I just said we're going to go on and I'm not going on. Okay, now I swear we're moving on. Okay, number 4, getting some brown. And this time let's do some berries over on this end here. Let me make sure you're able to see. Let's do some protruding on this end. out this way. And I'm going to try and not make them too berrylicious like I did over there. So leaving that as is, and using the number 4, I'm going to go in this time with a combination of the Carmine and the Titan. So mixing that onto the side, if you can see that. And then I'm going in and laying down very rough, berry shaped or circle shaped berries. I mean, they don't come in any other shapes, but you know what I mean. We're just doing rough circles, guys. That's what it is. And so I've done these. I'm going to do one more here because, like I mentioned, it's a loose style of painting. They do not have to be attached to a stem. It's not, we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for satisfaction. That can actually be a quote, I think. All right, so I'm mixing some of the Titan orange now just to get a different variation because I really like how that orange is blending in with that carmine there. So I think I'll do like half an orangey one looking over there. Maybe even mix in some more water to get a lighter consistency. Or just like we've been doing with the leaves, go in with a brush that has no color. And with just water, just draw in a berry. Make sure it doesn't have too much water actually, otherwise it's just going to pool. But if you have just the right amount of water, you can have it kind of blend in and create another berry. So I'll do another tiny one over there and then maybe just one off to the side here. And you see the effect that it's having. It's kind of like a ghost berry. Or a loose berry, however you want to see it. But this is how you get the variation in color. This is how you get the front and back. Like some berries are in the foreground, some are in the background. And you're getting that nice blend happening. All right, if you want to go in and touch in with some darker hues, just using the brush that you have with color already, just kind of go in and dab in color. And you're good. And we've got our cute little berries. I'm just going to add a couple of dots here and there because again, that's like indicative of like looser berries happening. I know looser style of painting. There we go. I think that's good enough. Just add a couple of dots over here too. I think that's good. Okay, so now we need a third one, and I think for the third one, let's do it over here on this end, so everything doesn't look like all the berries are on the inside. So I'm using some of the brown, and I am going to draw this sprig off to the side here. Just want to make sure that the screen is clear. There we go. So I'm doing this one just like this here, and I'm adding a couple of sprigs. And then once I have that, washing off the color, and I'm getting some of the orange that we've mixed with the red, or the red that we've mixed together. And I'm going to do in my prominent ones first. So every time I do these, I'm doing them in a different manner. So now I'm just doing the main prominent ones, and then I'm going to go in with a slight variation of color and create ones that are touching it or next to it. And then this way I get a nice blend of color and a variation of the berries as well. So if that makes any sense to you guys. So just creating a couple around, touching some of them to kind of have that nice pull of color, and just creating some that are super tiny and like fading off in the background almost. So we've done that. So I'm just going to get some water now, And using the water, I'm just going to create the berry shapes. So this one I've created right here, touching both these berries. So my hope was that I would pull the color from both of them and create a third berry, and that's happened. And that's cute. So here I'm just going to do one almost looking like it's in the background. And very loose and whimsical almost in style. So there we go. And now finally I'm just gonna add a couple of highlights to the berries we've added. And a couple of dots to kind of make it phase out almost, or light in the background. However you want to see it. There we go. And I think this is good. So now we have this happening, and we're also going to do a couple more of berries, but this time we're doing them in a blue. And so it's going to be the exact same style that we've done so far. And we're just using the cobalt blue instead. And we don't have to do them in 3 different areas. This one can just be the one area. So I'm getting some of the brown because we're going to use the same brown. And let's do this one. Actually, you know what? I lied. Because this is on the outside and these two are on the inside, let's do some of the blue here and then some kind of coming out. So I'm going to do some coming in this way. And so I guess draw that in however you want to do your stems. And then we're going to get some of the cobalt blue. And I'm going to add in one. Maybe decide on what the largest size for this will be. Is it going to be close to these or smaller? And then go with that. So then we have a hierarchy in design elements here. So I've got those blues in. I'm going to get a little bit of the azure blue and I'm mixing it onto the side. And what I'm going to do is, using this, a very muted version of it, I'm going to create other berries just off to the side. You can even use the technique of just using the water. So here's the water technique where you're just adding water in the shape, like as if you're drawing in a berry, but you're touching the colored ones you've already done, and you're getting a nice ghosted kind of berry almost happening. And then you just do a couple of dots here and there. You can do some green ones as well. Like I got a little bit of green in the blue that I had there, so you can see that happening. These could be just bunched in that much tighter compared to the other red ones. Make it look different. Make it look loose and pretty, because I think the whole point of this piece is to have a loose style of painting, but the colors really work in harmony and create a very pretty image. So we've done some there, and we'll do some over here, just like I mentioned. So some are protruding out on this side. And now I'm washing this off and getting some of the cobalt blue. And I'm creating the little berries. So I'm doing the main ones first, and then going in with the water to create additional ones around it. All right, so now that I've done that, I'm just gonna get a tad bit of the azure. Like it's mainly water, but just on the tip, I've used the tip to get a tiny bit of azure from my color palette there, and I'm just gonna add in the shapes to create additional berries, touching the ones that we've already laid down. And this gives us a nice, pretty dreamy, kind of soft look without it overpowering. I'm just getting more of the azure, and I'm gonna add hints of it into the darker berries that we have, just to give some added color variation as well as we kind of go in. All right, so I've done some here, and I will definitely do some of these background berries, whatever you want to call them. Whatever you want to call them. Let's get some of that magic happening here. So very light and soft. Kind of going along. And I think that's good enough. Now I'll just take some of the green just to kind of mimic what we have there, and I'm just going to add, that's too much green. So if you have too much green on, just take your paper towel and dab off. And that's okay. And then just adding some added variations of that. And there we go. So it's super light in these areas, and that's the beauty of it, because you can see how, you can see the variation actually, how we've kind of progressed. Like this was when we just went straight hard color, and then we kind of went with let's do a couple, and then go in with water and paint the same shapes at the side, and then we took it to the next level and we went even more. And then yeah, same thing happening over here, and you can see the looseness and you can see the blending of the color. So that's the kind of look and effect we want to create. All right, so this is what we have so far, and I think we're going to end off now with some nice darker hued leaves. So this will be fun. I think this will be like the last thing that we do before we say our wreath is done. So let's see, what brush have we not used and what's fun to use for these last ones that we do. Okay, so for these leaves, we're gonna use obviously my favorite green because I love it. And we can use some of the umber in it because I also love how the combination looks. And then if we want, I try to challenge myself to use the yellowish green. I just can't bring myself to do it because I just feel like it's so bright. But I'll keep it on the side just in case. Okay, so I'm gonna use the number 10 brush because like I said, it's like nice and long. It'll give me a nice long stretch and lay of color. So this might work really well in my favor. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. Always gets me antsy. So I'm gonna get color directly from this because I want it to be a nice dark hue. And then we are going to create some leaves right here, and they have to be super loose and just like a couple of strokes, and we are done. So they don't probably have to touch anything in that area. So added a stroke for direction, add 1, 2, 3. Can kind of go in with the other brush to kind of get a muted version of what we have. So just water on it. I'm creating additional leaves. And I'm just going to add a stroke into these leaves that we've kind of created there. And it gives us a nice soft hue and a loose look. So you see how we've gotten that effect happening here. I'm going to go back in, get some water around the area so it gives me a more shapely leaf. And then I'm adding another stroke here so that it looks like the leaf is kind of curving under and it doesn't look like it's just all falling down. So we have that, and at this point, if you want to add another hue, like I said previously, We could use the umber. Sorry, that's not the umber. This is the umber. That was a brown. You can use the brown as well, whichever you prefer, and just add in a couple of strokes with another brush. And this gives us a nice blend, again, with two colors. So it differentiates the leaves from one another. And it just gives it, yeah, takes it to the next level. It's not just a straight leaf. I'm just gonna highlight the, adding another layer to highlight the leaf itself so you can actually see it. There we go. So that's all we're doing there. So we're gonna do the same thing here that we've done here, except we're gonna do this one over here on this end. Actually, yeah, let's do it here, and I'm gonna have it kind of protruding outward as well. So 1, 2, and then going in with the brush, I'm gonna add in a stroke and another stroke to kind of, so again, we're getting a hint of leaves happening, but it's not really clear what shape they are or where they are. It's just kind of giving it a more fuller look and a looser look to our painting. So these strokes of water really do help, guys. Like, you should have fun with it. I just close that area up. And just like I said, you can go in with your brown or your umber and get in a stroke here and there to kind of give it a variation, right? Just like that. So we've got 2, and let's do one more here. Yeah, let's do one here. So I'm using my number 10, getting some of my green. First thing we do is get in our dark greens. Couple of strokes. And then going in with water, and we are just kind of adding a couple additional strokes, touching what we've just laid down in hopes that it'll blend. And it's almost like a layering thing at this point. And then if it doesn't blend in, just go in with the brush with the color and just add a couple of strokes in there and you're good. And then yes, this is the one, the number 4 is what I used for the browns, or the second hue. So just going in, adding a second hue of color onto our damp area here. And oh, just like we did the little dots, if you want to do little soft little strokes just here and there, like showing looser leaves, do it. So just like that. And I'll do some for these ones too that we've just done. And I'm just getting some of the pre-mixed greens that I have on my palette, and I'm just gonna add a couple of strokes. And this is like layering, guys, and it really does enhance. These are the little details that like really enhance a painting, at least in my opinion, because it's like it makes it softer, it's adding a tad bit more detail without really getting too detailed, and just gives it more character, in my opinion. Don't overdo the lower area though, because then the shape is kind of going out of whack, in my opinion. And you can even add a couple here. And I'll just add a few more here, and then I think we are pretty much good to go. And you guys can kind of tell me what you thought about it. Let's see. So we got some there, we got some there. I'll just do some at the top here. And just some really light ones, like just here. And maybe just like a few here. All right, that's it. Yeah, this is it, guys. So this is the loose wreath. You know, as an option, and I'm definitely going to do it. We're going to do a little bit of splatter because I have all this green and you guys know I don't like to waste. So I'm going to use my number 8 and I am going to get all this green onto the 8, and then I'm going to use the number 4 as a base, and I'm just going to do some splatters in these areas right here. I'll start off in the areas where the pines are, and let's see if I feel like I need more. There's one. Let's do some on this pine. I know the blueberries or the berries are right there, but kind of add it on the interior a little bit so it doesn't look like it's only on the outside. Whoops. There we go. And let's see. Just add some on the lighter areas too, just to kind of give it a little more detail without actually spending time doing any detail, but you're just literally adding some texture. Okay, you can tell I'm splatter happy, right? Like, yeah, that's me. All right, I'm not gonna do anymore. I think this is good. We will end with this. All right, okay, so we're gonna end with this. So I'm just gonna read the comments really quickly, but this was not an unexpected session, guys. This is actually a live with some of the members and patrons, and this is our Christmas party. So you guys have joined us for our Christmas session, and I'm just gonna quickly see if anyone has any comments. Since we're live, I'm not going to ignore you. Hey Shauna, hey Cindy, hey Annie, glad you like this. Oh, Cindy, I hope you are following. Sorry, I'm not trying to adjust the screen. I'm just actually looking at comments here. Lise, yes, glad you were able to join. I know I didn't mention it to anybody, but wasn't quite sure how else we were going to do our little Zoom session. So I figured this was perfect. Merry Christmas. Hey, Janet. And Joyce, happy Saturday from Arlington. Thanks for joining. All right, okay. So thanks for joining, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments what you thought and send me your work on Instagram or Facebook. I will leave this for you guys to try if you haven't already. So we'll chat soon. Bye.